bringing things together. That's how Daniel Lenton has grown his business by unifying what was otherwise working in silos into a huge unification, and that's how he's growing his business at the speed of knots. Welcome to the session, Daniel. Great to have you here. How are you?
Very good, thank you. Yeah, great to be here. Hopefully the internet holds up. Let's see, I guess.
Fingers crossed. I've got my toes crossed for you as well. But let's kick off right away, my friend. Tell us a bit more about your business and the kind of services you provide.
Sure. So basically, as AI has exploded onto the scene, not only have the number of models grown massively, but also the number of deployment solutions, whether you're deploying on the edge, whether you're applying compression, whether you're using serverless GPUs, etc. So it's very difficult for anyone deploying AI to really know that they're getting the very best out of their application. So we make it very easy to benchmark across different models, to benchmark across every conceivable deployment solution to make sure that when you're deploying your AI at scale, you've got the very best model for your use case, and you're doing this fastly, cheaply, and as accurately as possible. So we make it very easy for companies to deploy AI at scale.
And that is so important there, isn't it? You're helping companies save time, energy, and potentially, well, definitely money, but helping them find what is the right AI solution for them at any given point in time. Is that correct?
Exactly, yes. So these are two different moving targets. So you basically
Mm,
have your application, which is a moving target because the needs of your application might change over time. The API request rate might change over time. So your usage might skyrocket, and then you need a different solution to handle that load. But also the
mm.
landscape is constantly changing. So both of these things constantly change, and being an intermediary, an impartial arbiter that can kind of, avoid vendor lock-in and make sure that you've always got the best tool is really needed today more than ever because of, the explosion of number of solutions that are out there.
And are there many competitors for this kind of platform or this kind of facility you've created?
But there's not. So there's a few good things. There's something called Open Router that enables you to abstract across large language models specifically. There's a few benchmarking tools. Pareya is one that enables you to benchmark large language models, but there's nothing that's really positioned itself to cover all of the cases of benchmarking across performance, but also deployment suitability to the application. So that optimizes latency, cost, etc. There's no one that's really positioned themselves on top of this stack to be, these kind of to be an arbiter across these things and really be backing the user. What I would just say on the end of that is that what most companies do, and that's great, they're building great IP, hugely innovative solutions, but generally they're trying to maybe bite off more than they can chew and become these all-encompassing solutions with this black box, totally proprietary solution. And then it's like, come use us, and we're going to be the fastest thing for every conceivable thing using
Mm.
our own technology. That's almost impossible because no one can be the best at everything. So really what we're doing is going more for this marketplace approach. And yeah, there's no one else really out there in the space doing what we're doing.
Amazing. So, in a world that's constantly changing with the AI landscape as new and fresh as it is, landing on people's plates, you created yourself almost a USP, one of the only people in the market doing what you're doing. I mean, very quickly, share with me maybe a couple of bullet points. What inspired you to come up with this kind of a unique idea in this new industry?
I feel as though just having been a developer for many years, I did my PhD in AI for 4 years, and I was wrestling with all the different frameworks and all of the different tools, and I just know firsthand how painful the fragmentation really is. So this is just something that has really born out of a personal problem that I have with all of
Mm,
this. Um, and I think just talking to a lot of customers, one thing that I've done, I speak to probably 4 or 5 customers or potential customers every day. I constantly try to talk to my immediate community on LinkedIn. I probably write about 100 LinkedIn messages every day. I try to stay plugged into the people actually doing this. And I guess that helps to kind of try to consolidate their biggest frustrations into a clear idea of a problem. Before you can build any solution, you need to know what a problem is, obviously. And then
yeah.
once you have a good idea of a problem, you're then in a much better position to actually come up with real solutions. And I think that that's helped. One thing I would just quickly say though is that and while there's no one else in the space, we are massive fans of Hugging Face, and Hugging Face have done something similar to what we're trying to do, although that's focused on models and data sets. So they've really succeeded in becoming the marketplace of models, source code of models and data sets. But there's nothing like Hugging Face really for like the massive variety of deployment solutions and also the variety of proprietary endpoints that are coming out onto the scene. And that's kind of the vision of unifying. Yeah.
I just want to really tag on to something you said over there around finding the problems before you talk about solutions. And that's such a huge point
Mm.
to zoom in on when it comes
Yeah.
to generating and creating businesses. I mean, often people think about, oh, here's a great solution. Let me go and start selling this great product. But what you just
Sure.
said was, hey, look, we've got to know the problem first before we can come with a solution. I mean, what advice
Absolutely.
would you give to other startups or businesses around investing time in digging into
Yeah.
understanding the problem and how you can go about doing that very quickly?
Yeah, well, sure. I think you're destined to fail as soon as you fall in love with a solution.
Mm.
What really matters is finding real tangible problems in the world and falling in love with those. Unless you fall in love with a problem, you're on the wrong path. And I think the best way to do that,
Falling in
firstly, it
love with
helps.
problems, love it.
Yeah, that's the first thing you need to do because solutions are beautiful and elegant, but often if you fall in love with a solution, you end up over engineering something that nobody wants, and that's obviously a reason a lot of companies fail. And this is kind of YC advice as well. This is like kind of YC mantra, and that's also had an effect on me as well, to be honest. So I don't want to present every thought as totally my own, but I think that one really resonated with me as well. And I think the best way to do that, first of all, it helps to have some domain expertise in a deep area because surface level problems, everyone's come up with them, and that they're not there are problems, but good problems are kind of quite deep problems that not everybody can see. A problem that not
Mm.
everyone has the visibility to see, and you have the expertise to execute on, is a perfect problem. And trying to find those problems is difficult. So obviously, I benefit from having done my PhD in AI and having a pretty strong technical background in it. So I have some ability to find the problems, I suppose. But um, I'm not saying we've even found the biggest problem, but I think we've found something of a problem so far. It seems that way. But also, I think just being obsessed with talking to your users and never forgetting that. I think some of the biggest companies we've worked with is one company where they have hundreds and hundreds of employees. Their CEO still makes time to talk to all of the customers. And I spoke to him recently. And I think this kind of culture of because as you get further away from the code, I have not written any code myself in a year now because I've been a bit too far away from it, and I'm quite sad about that. But I've not been doing the coding, so at the very least, you need to make sure you constantly talk to the people who are, because in a field like AI, it changes so quickly that like what you were doing 2 years ago or a year ago is not what people are doing today, not even close. So you need to keep talking
Wow,
to the people that actually are going to be using your stuff, otherwise you lose touch very quickly.
love it. So really getting that customer interaction feedback from them. So staying abreast of the problem itself. Now you've grown
Absolutely.
from being a startup to having now, what was it, 30, 35 developers working for you?
30 today, yeah, 30.
30 developers working for you all in 18 months. That's fast growth you're experiencing. So tell me, what would you say are the top three people management problems you've come across and how you've gone about addressing those, would you say?
Great question. Top three. I'll try and come up with one or two first, and then see if I can get a third.
Okay.
The top one, I guess the top one, not a people manager problem, but I think my one of my downfalls early on was that I tried to have my finger in too many pots. I was trying to spin too many plates, and I think I didn't delegate as quickly as I could have done. So one thing I've really learned over the last few months is that you really need to empower the people in your team and just let them run with it. Don't try to micromanage. If you find someone that's great and they're making decisions, even if every decision they make isn't the one you would make, they need to take ownership of parts of the company, like that's necessary. And it can't always be exactly what you would want to be done as a founder. You need to let them own their own stuff and run with it. And also the growth they get from having done that is also incredibly important. So I think that's one thing that I maybe learned a bit late, but I think thankfully learned it in time. Um, I think as well. I mean, for me, it's not really people management, but we're a fully remote company. We have people working in like I think 17 different countries. So it took a lot of time to make sure that we build the fully remote setup so that everyone remains motivated and that we. And I think what's really important is like dedicated, well, routine. So we meet together every day for a coffee sync in the morning. We're going to have an hour chat in so work that kind of replicates the elevator chats or the coffee room chats you otherwise might get. Um, we have game nights every week where we play, silly games online and stuff. And I think really fostering a lot of social events is really
Mm.
important for a remote company. And when we didn't do that enough at the beginning, and people were feeling a bit burnt out, a bit unmotivated, a bit lacking structure because people just work late into the night. It was fully flexible. You could work whenever you want. And I think that's great if people are trying to juggle
Mm.
lots of things. But for people that are working full time, structure is sometimes a good thing. If you need to be up in the morning and that's kind of slightly externally enforced, that helps me actually. And I think other people are now grateful that we've taken a slightly more kind of draconian, you need to be in at this meeting at this time and everything. again, not really people management. But that's been good. I guess a third one would be, um, I don't know. Like I don't know, like making sure to give praise as well. Giving obviously giving critical feedback and giving and not being afraid to have the difficult discussions. I think this is something that's really important. I think people that are too afraid of hostility, there's this like whole concept of being radically candid. It's like there's a book about this and everything. And I think you need to be very direct when somebody does something that's you don't think is ideal, but you need to be very
Mm,
respectful and kind and encouraging with that. But I think leaving things unsaid, and this is something we encourage across the entire team. We use this coin model, which is context, observation, impact, and next steps. So it's kind of what was the context of this? What was exactly the observation? Let's not start generalizing by saying you're just lazy, you're just this. Like, no, we never talk about generalizations. It's the context, the specific observation, what
crazy.
impact did that have specifically, and what are the next steps? And we encourage everyone on the team to give that feedback to everybody at all levels of the rank. Like employees give that feedback to me regularly. I give it to people regularly as well. And we all need to be comfortable with constructive feedback not being a personal attack. It is always in the interest of the company for us to do that, and we've really cemented that culture. And I think that means that all of us learn from mistakes very very quickly, and it doesn't get it doesn't get sassy. It remains very respectful and very professional.
Love you putting positive spin on what would otherwise you need to like a toxic element to the business. And I love the sound of the point. Love putting things into a bit of
Again, not
a
my idea. It's if you do
process.
this
No,
coin
you're right
model,
there.
but it works well.
Hey, look, that's absolutely fine. It's always good to leverage other people to try to test ideas. Let them know,
Yeah,
make the mistakes, and you can just flow with the solution, isn't it?
exactly.
Love the sound of that. Final question. Over the next 3 years, or let's just keep it to 1 year actually, over the next one
Yeah,
year,
yeah,
leaving aside all the macroeconomic challenges of an unstable economy and political situation, etc., leave all that
yeah.
aside. But you specifically, Daniel, what would you say would be the number one challenge you may be facing in your business over the next 12 months?
Oh, good question. These are all great questions. Number one challenge we'd like to face in our business. I guess it's kind of quite broad. I guess it's incredibly difficult to stay up to date. AI moves so fast that I think
Mm,
like already we've gone through like minor pivots here and there as we've kind of changed our direction. So I think with AI, it's very hard to predict exactly where it's going. So you need to kind of stay on your toes. And I guess, the emergence of AGI all through OpenAI might kind of render everything else redundant. Now, I don't think that's going to happen, but there's a whole number of things that could kind of be so disruptive in the space that everyone in AI is kind of wondering how they remain relevant. So I think yes. So just something that's massively disruptive in terms of the capabilities of AI moving so quickly that kind of even the need to code or build infrastructure becomes no longer needed because AI can do that better than any person can, and that could kind of make all kinds of things redundant. That could be disruptive. I guess like massive consolidation. So typically speaking, there is often a period of deep fragmentation before then there is consolidation. And we're in a period of insane fragmentation right now in AI. There's so many options at all levels of the stack, at endpoints, at compile infrastructure, at hardware, at compression. Now, marketplaces thrive when there's like many to many markets, like many users, many solutions. That's where a market model makes sense. That's why Hugging Face is doing well as well. There's many users, many models in a world where there's less and less architectures that matter and a fewer and fewer number of players that are really leading the AI race, then marketplace business models cease to be relevant. And in such a world, we might need to, rethink our business model and pivot. But to be honest, I never see these things as too threatening because I think the very best AI companies need to constantly reinvent themselves and constantly rethink their business model and their strategy because things move so fast anyway that
mm.
if I was to think that the business model we have today is going to last 2 years, I think that would be incredibly naive. So I'm kind of embraced to kind of constantly try to rethink what we're doing, and therefore none of it feels too threatening as long as we stay on our toes. But of course, who knows? The landscape changes so
Yes.
fast that you never know.
Love it, love it. Daniel, it's been absolutely refreshing having you on the session today. So many nice, great bits of wisdom you shared. Love the COIN acronym in particular because that
Oh,
can be
thank
so
you.
useful for anyone and everyone. But let's come to the session. We're going to time. We're going to say goodbye to you. Hopefully, we can see you again in the future. So it's been
For sure.
incredible having you here today. Thank you for sharing so generously.
Likewise. Thanks so much for having me on the show. Real honor to be here.
Pleasure.